So in this video, we're going to walk through creating a brand aesthetic, and I'm going to go entirely through a capsule that I just creative directed. We made some really nice items, things like this Togo leather duffel bag, these wax cotton hoodies we've gotten tons of appreciation for on the short form videos I've worn it in, custom envelopes, custom packaging, cashmere hats, silk scarves, the whole gambit. I'm going to walk through how all this comes together from mood board to reality and how you have the aesthetics that actually tie it into something special and how you design collections overall. We'll start with the graphics and inspiration. We'll move into the actual collection design and the product design. I'll unbox the entire collection so you can actually see all the details of the things we put together. And then we'll go into the content and photos we made and some strategies for when you're approaching collections and putting these things together yourself. So Hyper, which is my newsletter, I run with another creator. If you're not familiar with me at all, I'm Orenmeetsworld. I'm a designer, creative director, former kind of marketing head who makes a lot of content and does a lot of design in the luxury products and fashion space. And my partner inside of Hyper is Clayton, who runs Spreza, which is like a men's fashion newsletter. He previously worked in Barney's and has a very different but equally as intense vision as I do about what makes things interesting in luxury and stand out in branding and design. So we write our brand strategy newsletter every week on Hyper and talk about all kinds of things, and then we do projects like this where we offer creative direction and design, etc., for brands that are trying to do interesting things. So we got approached by Fermat, who are a landing page company that basically funnels and similar things for e-commerce. They do software where they want to make a luxury merch collection to be able to give to their best clients, to be able to offer for sale, and to be able to showcase their technology, which allows people to create like custom pages and full funnel flows for their e-commerce brands. So from there, it starts with a mood board. So Clayton put together this mood board of what we're looking at for the collection. Give to all the designers and the people that are going to be involved to give them a sense of where we're going. This first image is kind of a perfect image, as you see where things align, of like where we have this kind of elevated menswear feel, but it still has like some level of casual streetwear to it. Things that are more subdued. You see the overall palette, elevation and kind of materials, texture. You'll see some of these recurring themes. We ended up with a palette really similar to the two items this guy is wearing here. Some similarities in that. These mood boards help drive how we think about the collection and what we can do. So it starts there just to get everyone on the same visual page. We put this together. This is in Arena. And then we put together direct. So for this, we worked with a neighbor of mine who lives right down the street from where I'm filming this video, Ben Biondo, who does some really nice graphic work. He's the creative director for a brand called Lonely Ghost, an influencer brand that you may have heard of, who also does some really nice work. It was definitely on the same page with us as far as visual aesthetic. And we wanted to get a whole set of iconography done for this brand from scratch that helped transform it from the software brand that it is today into something that makes sense as a recurring, whether it's just a capsule or whether we do a bunch of these, kind of merchandise line that has the right vibe. So we put together a brief for him on the actual logo direction, something I just put together in slides on what we liked and some angles we wanted to approach. So it started with the existing branding that's there, which we did not want to include at all. We wanted to have maybe some light inspiration. Some of the existing colors they work with, we did say, hey, let's pull some from that. So it makes sense, but not necessarily like leading into the kind of yellow and black that they have so frequently. And so you'll see we actually pulled the green and the off-white kind of cream as the core things for the collection based on what they already have, based a little bit on their existing design. So I put together this brief for him of some things we liked and styles we liked, all things we pull from. Where I really liked these kind of logos that are more like marks, more traditional high design. Same thing with like treated word marks. How can we make a word mark be particularly unique? This idea of luxury type, like how do you give typography like a standout approach, and then potentially this idea of like a double word, like a letter incorporating that. I don't like to give too much direction when I'm working with designers that I know are going to crush it, but I like to have some visual ideas of like, here's 3 or 4 things, here's 3 or 4 examples of each of those that they can potentially pull from inspiration from, so they're not starting from zero with what do you want. I find instead of just some big mood board, actually saying, hey, here's 4 kind of concepts to play with, obviously come with your own, is a good way to approach it. So you'll see what we actually ended up with. This was the first round of logos here. We really liked what was going on with this kind of 4-letter treated type. We also really liked this F. You could see that was incorporated into type, similar to that double word mark we had inside the inspiration, and some kind of options and how they could potentially be applied, and then a bunch of other styles he was kind of exploring in colors. And so was not feeling as much of these backsides, but again, that's why we get a bunch of options. Same thing with kind of what we put in together here, but really liked this first direction that was put together. This thing goes into round 2, which is refinement of that direction, where we're saying, okay, let's think about, okay, how would this apply to a t-shirt? What would we want to actually actually put on things. Like I'm very much about how do you actually put graphics into use and kind of what makes the most sense. And we were close here, but far different from where we ended up. We were just kind of exploring some exploration. The one thing I did absolutely love was this kind of scarf treatment here. And we had some adjustments there. We took off the text, a few things that ended up making it into production from this round 2. And all the way into round 3 where we're very refined. This one on the right is like exactly what we went with. So some of these patterns changed. We implemented some of these little items like the FRMT that you saw. We took that logo. Originally, this was kind of underneath the globe, etc. Like how we moved it around. We begin thinking about application. This is where I get really hands-on. I like to let someone really cook on graphics. We'll go back and forth, sort of really think about where can we apply things correctly. So our next step here was kind of collection design and structure overall. So how I typically look at collection design is that you need your standout item, your viral items, for lack of a better term. What are the things that are going to get people's attention? That's category 1. And for us, it was this waxed hoodie where I knew as soon as you put it on like social media video or you see it in real life, you go, wow, it's going to be crazy. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew the factory and the places that would have the treatment. We'll unbox it a bit later. But I was like, this is going to be our standout item. And so how do we want to apply iconography there? We did a embroidery hit in the front, embroidery hit in the side, and then we decided to do a silicone tag on everything as far as the apparel items to help like tie it together, in the collection. Category 1 is those standout items, the things that make everyone want, that are going to sell out quick, that people are going to be asking about how do I get my hands on. The second one was this leather bag, which we will unbox here in a bit. I knew we wanted to do a duffel. I've been working on some duffel tech packs with the team. And so I was like, hey, let's do something that's really high end for that too. Then you have your core items when it comes down to structure. So like a shirt is a core item. For us, we also wanted to balance affordability because some of this was being given away and some was being sold. We also got scarves, which are a lower price item. And then these cashmere hats, another one where like we felt the shirt and the hats are the core items, and those should be kind of what's going to be most consumed. I think that breakdown is how most people should look at collection designs. So if you're starting small, and for most people I'd recommend starting small, and you have about 5 items, I'd be really shooting for 2 to be like extremely stand out, to have 2 that are more normal and easy to get, and have 1 that's like cheaper or an easy access point where you can buy in or get into the brand with an accessory or similar. So you have a small collection, kind of a ratio like we put it, 2 standout items, 2 normal items, 1 accessible. That's a pretty decent way to start. But as you get bigger, you expand the middle and the bottom. Like for those collections, getting those real standout items, especially if they're more expensive or you want people to be like hunting after them, I would kind of keep it in that ratio until you're looking at like 2 to 8 to 2. If you're looking at like a 12-piece collection, where you have like 2 stand out to like 8 solid across a range to 2 more accessible. And then that's where you can start being like, all right, maybe let's add a 3rd standout item. But that's kind of the ratio I like to look at, is even when you're small, you still need those standouts. And then as you grow, growing the middle of the things actually people use and wear, and then keeping those like outside a little bit small. And this is corporate merchandise, so a bit different than a full fashion line and full fashion collection. There's a whole bunch of thoughts into that. But if you were just looking for a framework or a guidework to get started, when I do a lot of these projects, that's the way that I look at it. All right, so I talk a lot in my videos about how creatives should be putting dedicated time aside every week and every day to up-level their skill set. The biggest question I get is, how do I actually learn these things if I want to go a level deeper than YouTube? So I partnered with Skillshare to actually go and pick out a number of courses that you can use on their platform that has a monthly membership covering all kinds of categories, from photography to design to music, business, marketing, and more. So you can have some specifics that you can do that will help get you on your journey. So first, in my videos that are more fashion focused, people ask a lot about tech packs and getting good at that. There's a whole class on Adobe Illustrator for fashion that teaches you how to work with these flats like you see here with CADs. What I think is important about this is this will help you get a grasp of Illustrator, and then it has everything from like creating shapes and actually creating some deliverables and using the pen tool that will help you not only learn how to use the files, but actually modify and create your own design. If you want to get into Photoshop and the basics of design, say you've only used like Adobe Express before and you want to take it a level deeper, they have a whole path, which is like when they put multiple courses together to get you like a learning journey dedicated to Photoshop basics. And this one is great. I will link all of these specifically inside the description of this video. I also really like this new course, Mindful Photography, that is about creating a daily habit for photo. I talk a lot about daily habits inside some of these videos. And I think if you do want to become good at art direction, become good at natural content creation, creating a daily habit like this is excellent. And this is a great course to do it. So the first 500 people to use this link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can do this yourself. My number 1 pro tip is that set dedicated time, whether it's twice a week or every day, whatever it is, schedule the time that you're going to use to pursue this, and it will help take you a long way. All the links will be in the description. All right, so now we've recapped a bit of the design that's gone into the collection. Let's actually take a look at everything that we created. So first we'll start off with these branded boxes. These are from Arca. All right, so then we have these envelopes, are a super nice touch, wax seal. you'll see this thing I've done on some of the valuable items as well. I have a wax seal of the logo that I have from, you'll notice I've done this on valuable items as well, a wax seal that's on an envelope. A shout out to Alexa from Vermont who actually worked on and found this one. But that same kind of like textured green that you'll see matches some of the other items we have. All right, so then some packaging. This is done from a hat supplier where I do the vast majority of my hats. So this is actually a valuable silhouette. So I have these valuable cashmere hats. It's something I love whenever I do unique items like this. It's something I want to be able to offer and use on projects. I don't have a brand color that's like a dark color like this. And so love, like jumped at the opportunity to do this. Just dark green. If we get up super close to it, you'll see that there is a logo color on color. Just when I do more luxury stuff like this is actually a black on green, and you want to be more subtle. I think this is more fun. It's a super rich cashmere, and a leather band in like a green leather to match, engraved brand logo on the clasp. And whenever I do these, it's still just a normal hat shell underneath. So even though it's a hot fabric on the outside, doesn't mean that your dome's going to be sweating when you do wear it. And then custom garment tag with it. So whenever we're doing hats like this, I always have the list of like what's going to be custom band, what's going to be custom on the actual connection point if there is one. Are we going to do a custom shell? We have a custom care tag. What we're doing for the logo and then the shape and size. So then we have the shirts. You know I will never go for any standard tee. This is a heavyweight, not as heavy as the valuable ones. It's about a 320. But it's a style and silhouette that I absolutely love. It feels super luxury. It's really tight. The fabric is perfect. One of the fabrics I was finding when I was in China was this one, screen print on here. This also has a silicone tag on the back, secondary print, custom tag on the inside here that's stitched in all the way around. The only downside of a stitch in like that is that you can see some of the outline on the back, but I think that's part of it and enjoy it either way. When we go back to collection structure and how we put this together, and we were talking about it, having a core item like the shirt that's affordable that anyone can buy into, that's still super elevated, is the kind of stuff that actually gets most used and worn for the brand. And there are items like this shirt and that hat that are kind of casual every day, versus not everyone's going to be able to go for that hoodie or some of these other items I'm about to break down. Little branded bag for this scarf. This is a cashmere scarf. This was done by Crease Group. You see those are the guys I went to China with. We do hire in luxury items like this. I often do it with them. So you can see the scarf here. So we looked at the designs before that Ben did. So then we applied one of them to here with this pattern that incorporates the F logo, which I absolutely love. It is silk. It has the rolled edge. We were going as close as we can to a Hermes scarf. Obviously, this is kind of an it item that you've seen people wearing, and you can use it as an accessory. We did want something that was more female leaning as well. Little branded care tag, 100% silk. But again, this is one where not everyone's going to wear or have a use for these. So this is more of a standout item, like a flex item, versus the things like the shirts, which ends up being what's most consumed. But to me, this is my favorite item just because I love what we did with the iconography and then what Ben did with the pattern on this, and then being able to apply that to something where, like, if you know and you've bought things of that quality before, you're like, this is just as good as any luxury product that you can get, with the exception of like truly the best of the best. And now the crown jewel. Now the crown jewel from our branding on the bag, we figured people could reuse these as a laundry bag. We didn't want to do like a disposable dust bag because it just says more as a premium brand. When you get a premium item, that's something that maybe you could use. And so I love the idea this could be like a luggage bag or a laundry bag in addition. All right, so then we have this actual bag, which is definitely the most exciting item of the ones that we've done. You can see we've got the metal tag here. I actually have the original. So I was in the factory when they were making these. I was in the factory when they were cutting the pattern, just because this is a project I care about. Using this duffel pattern that we did on a number of like upcoming projects. So I want to make sure it was perfect. And just, you know, if we're going to go for something we want to call it luxury, like I want to make sure I'm present for it. So they actually gave me this, like the first iteration. So metal brand logo tag, color on color. This is Togo leather that we picked out directly, matching leather to the actual colors here. You can see kind of how close we are. It's impossible to get like exactly precise when you're going like between materials, but it's super close. There are a couple things that make this stand out, even like the little highlights. Like you'll notice, like whenever there is an option, we did that in a contrast color, this piping in the contrast color. But it's a really gorgeous leather. And you'll see now that I have the interior out, like it's supple, falls. Some of the details I really want to call out is these oversized zippers. This is something I love to do whenever you're trying to make something stand out, is what do we do with a zip? And the oversized is a really fun way to do it. When we go in here, you'll also see the branded luggage tag attachment. You have in there in the same matching leather, put there on another garment. And then this interior. So the interior is in a branded pattern. We have all these separate pockets in the exact style that I like, including the zip side over here. There's a zip side, same liner, and then also we have two other additional pockets over here with a no zip. Other strap that you can use as well. Little things like what these connection points look like here. Everything about it designed to just be really stand out. Definitely my favorite item of what we put together. So this bag was also done by Crease Group. And I will shout out, I don't want to reveal too much about the clients that they have in case people get mad, but there's multiple luxury houses that are being produced on the same line as the factory that I was in there, with accessories that I like leather goods. And so it's cool to see everything handmade, hand cut, hand stitched, like really well, like just impeccably well crafted. And it's just awesome to see that level of quality and obviously be able to get it for a brand. And then Crease Group did that like interior packaging and branding as well. And the shirt, I don't think I mentioned before, but that was done by a vendor on Pietra called Custom Creations. I use a lot for shirts, etc., because I just already have all these default weights picked out. They're also someone I have good communications with, so I can tell them to get a specific fabric or something I get from China. They're able to execute on it. But particularly when things are under like some level of timing stress, they're a great one I go with. But anything on like the full luxury end, especially if we're going in like to larger production, try to do as much with Crease Group as possible. It's cool to see a bunch of this in the flesh after we've kind of gone through all the work of putting that together, and now excited to kind of use that inside daily life. And like I mentioned, when I create these, like the whole idea is like creating reusable things. So for instance, like you'll see this hat across many projects in the future, and started on a project that never went into production. And I adjusted some of the style, moved it into another. Same thing with that duffel bag. I have multiple duffel bags that I'm using for my own brand, for client projects. So like nailing that in, knowing all the options. It's useful to be able to have that to kind of work through the future. And every time you add something that can, and as long as you create a tech pack that's really worth it, it's like that's something that becomes part of like your designer profile that you're able to use and grow with and then offer to other people. And those things are going to be able to move considerably faster. You're going to already know like what the result's going to look like. You have less sampling time. And so the more of that you have is one of the reasons why people will come to people with expertise versus trying to attempt to do those things on their own and like adding a bunch to their timeline to make sure it's done right. So a quick breakdown on some of the technical details of like how we put these things together. So this is the tech pack for the duffel bag. You'll note this is not like some immensely complicated tech pack, right? Simple, straightforward things like this work a lot. We started with this. We did not know where colors we wanted to go. We knew what the silhouette is. And then you could see to the final version we end up using where we have the colors of the different handles. We have this liner that matches the scarf that we're doing. We've been selecting some more specific leathers, etc. And then to ensure that everything is going the way where I was actually there present at the factory when they were cutting the pattern and when they were choosing the leathers and when they were choosing the linings to save time with the back and forth. And I didn't like fly out there specifically for that. I tried to time everything as much as I could with multiple projects I had to be most impactful when I was on that visit in China. You'll see we got a bunch of photos done. We had two kind of spectacular models we worked with on this. I'll shout everybody out in the links. And Caleb Shane was the photographer. So when we sent a brief, we knew we weren't doing something like super high production, high budget, but we wanted to have like an interesting feel. He did a great job. He shot a mix of digital and film, so we could pick from a kind of like a full options list of models. And you'll see we have things for standard product shots. We didn't want to have any like white background. E-com is not really the vibe that we're going for. We put a separate brief together for him as well. But he gave us tons of options for this, and we had like a bunch of different approaches to how we wanted to put this together, and then the image options that we were going to be able to use. But you'll see, as you've seen in my art direction video, I always like to have at least one concept when we're doing a shoot, even like a quick kind of running gun like what we're doing here. So for this one, we kind of duped. So it's this trend that was going viral in China for a while, people showing off their wealth by spilling out of their vehicle. It was also that trend was then based on a like 2000s Tumblr trend where there was a photo that's done by like a luxury brand. So we kind of duped it for this and then caught some video behind the scenes of that as well. So we had something more conceptual that we could use for social content as well. Shout out my G-Wagon. This is part of why it's a business expense. Overall, being able to capture all those details, we had a full kind of mood board and list for this shoot as well, and just getting kind of awesome work from Caleb, who just does a great job, even with these very like subtle photos of like showing off and like putting product into a wonderful and amazing light. So for Format, a big part of the premise was to show off the landing page technology that they use for everyone that was getting the box, their influencers, their customers, people that are buying it. So you can see some of the BTS I shot that they kind of did some treatments and stuff on. This is kind of one of their landing pages. We're able to view this bundle. They are able to put like custom galleries, options for products. People can select sizes and things of like 5 together, add to a custom cart and a custom checkout as part of what they enable for brands. Well, that's a bit of the like front end, how this all works. The only thing I really didn't talk about here was like shipping and logistics and warehousing. We used Micro Merch as the 3PL for this, so they'd handle all the fulfillment and stuff. They're great for projects like this. We coordinated shipment. It's had to be done over the course of like 4 months because it takes 30 days just to get all the designs and stuff right. It took 30 days to lock everything in and orders and pricing and back and forth and files and samples. 30 days of production, and then we shipped a bunch of it by sea. We aired a few things like at the end just to make sure we hit the timelines we were on, but it is about 120 days to do something like this effectively. And some people will tell you that that's really fast because you could obviously be planning collections like a year in advance. Then some people will tell you that's slow because if you did everything at the highest price point possible and aired everything, you could probably do the same thing in like 60 days if you were running a little bit more risk. I think 120 days is the perfect amount of it. I hope you enjoyed walking through this and everything about the mood boards, the actual designs and graphics, the thought processes behind putting so much of it together, and then kind of the end result of what everything looks like. If you have any questions about the process or things I should hit in future versions of this video for other things that I work on, please drop them in the comments and we'll do what we can. Thank you so much for watching.